Okay. Good morning, everybody. My name is Pam Jagger, and I'm an associate professor at the School for Environment and Sustainability at the University of Michigan. And I also am one of the people who's working with WinEED, which is an Environment for Development initiative, which I'll tell you a little bit about in just a minute. This is the second in our new seminar series. So we're excited to have you with us this morning, morning for us in North America. So just a little bit about WinEED to familiarize those of you who don't know much about us. We're a nascent organization. We're working in partnership with the Environment for Development Initiative, as I mentioned. WinEED stands for Women in Environmental Economics for Development, and we have an objective of bringing together female economists who are working in the environmental economics and policy field, both from EFD centers and among the community more broadly from around the world. Our aims are twofold. One is to really provide capacity building and networking opportunities for this group that is underrepresented in the field. And then the second objective that we have is to support and motivate and provide sort of technical backstopping and encouragement on the topic of integrating gender more squarely into EFD research and research that is sort of done in the spirit of the Environment for Development Initiative. I have co-organizers or co-collaborators that are working on this effort, Rohini Somanathan, Erin Sills, and Stephanie Scott, who many of you have been in touch with, who helps tremendously with the program coordination. If you want to learn more about us, we have a web presence on the Environment for Development Initiative website, and the information, all of our Twitter and Instagram and Stephanie's contact information is there for you on the slide. So as I mentioned, this is the second in what we hope will become a regular seminar series. And what we've done is we are collaborating with one of the other sort of signature initiatives at the Environment for Development, within the Environment for Development Initiative, which is called SETI, which is the Sustainable Energy Transitions Initiative, which is based sort of co-hosted at Duke University and within the Environment for Development Initiative. We're very lucky to have two fantastic speakers with us. And you know, we're very international. We have people joining from all over the world. So this is the second, as I mentioned, the second in our series. We have Dr. Ngawang Dendup with us and Dr. Dipendra Bhattarai, and they're going to present their research, which is squarely focused on the topic of energy and gender. And you know, I would really encourage you who are joining us to take note of their approach to gender research and the way that they're collecting data and using it in their analysis as a way of pushing our thinking about gender beyond just including a sort of covariate in the regression models that we run. Okay, so our first speaker is going to be Ngawang Dendup. He's an assistant professor in the Faculty of Political Science and Economics at Waseda University. I think he's coming to us from Tokyo today. Before he joined the PhD program at Waseda, he taught economics at the Royal University of Bhutan for roughly 4 years. His interests include the economics of environment, development, energy, water, and microeconometrics. His paper is focused on how alternative household energy, specifically biogas, is affecting intra-household time allocation. And he's looking specifically to see if biogas has any crowding out effect for household poverty and conservation related outcomes. So Ngawang, I'll turn it over to you. I think Stephanie's going to, well, actually, I think maybe, Stephanie, you want me to introduce Dipendra now as well?
Sure.
Okay, all right, sorry, I'll go ahead and do that. Okay, Dipendra Bhattarai, he's a researcher and a practitioner. He's been working for more than a decade in project management and research on renewable energy in developing countries. He's currently enrolled as a student at the University of Tasmania in Australia, working on his PhD. He has worked for several regional and international development organizations, most recently working with the International Center for Integrated Mountain Development as an energy expert. He's worked at Practical Action Consulting, WinRock International, and I'm just learning now, the University of Michigan. His work includes empirical analysis of subsidy distribution for rural off-grid energy, solar irrigation pumps, energy access, smart metering for off-grid technologies, climate adaptation measures in the hydropower sector, assessment of performance of mini grids, and market system development for improved cook stoves, and also looking at formulation of guidelines and development of projects for rural electrification. So really wide range of things. Today he'll be speaking about his research on introducing solar-powered irrigation pumps for farmers in Nepal and employing innovative financial models that impact women farmers. Okay, so those are our two speakers. We're lucky to have them coming to us from the other side of the world. I think I will turn it, well, let me just give you the basic rules for today. So we'd like everyone to mute themselves as this standard protocol in this webinar world that we're working in these days. The videos will be automatically off. We're going to start with Ngawang's presentation. We'll have a 5-minute Q&A session, and you can put your questions. Please use the question and answer function, which is at the bottom, should be at the bottom of your screen. If we don't get your question, if we don't get to your question in the time that we have, then we will certainly pass them on to the speakers. The speakers have roughly 15-minute presentations. Stephanie will serve as our timekeeper, and she's a good timekeeper who's probably about to tell me that my time is up. So without further ado, hopefully the protocols are straightforward and we can just move forward with the presentation, first presentation.
So can I share my screen now?
Yes.
Or, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Very good morning. My name is Ngawang Dendup, and this is joint work with Sen, he's in Cornell, Bishal, and Bishal, he's in University of Queensland. And we are very, very grateful for giving opportunity for us to present this unpolished work. So these results are still at preliminary stage, but I think it will not change much. And also we have changed our title a bit because we changed our identification strategy a bit. Okay, so now I'll start. So the primary cooking fuel in developing countries is a biomass, and most of the time it is is in most of the cases, it is households depends on firewood for cooking and heating purposes. And this household energy sector in developing countries have received quite a lot of attention, both in media as well as in academia and research. And one of the reasons for that, we believe, is because the type of household energy that household uses or have access to has played a central role in a number of household outcomes. For example, 4 million premature deaths have been linked with the household air pollution, or what somebody call as some call it as indoor air pollution. And this burden mostly is felt upon, again, women and children. And according to WHO, out of these 4 million, so 2 million deaths are related to child below under the age of 6. And also collecting firewood and finally using it is very time consuming. And at the same time, that time that is taken away for doing this kind of work takes away the time that individual could otherwise engage in other productive activities, for example, selling their wage labor in the market. So given this context in developing countries, there are a number of interventions in place. For example, ICS, dissemination of improved cook stove or access to gas, or and one of the intervention is biogas. So biogas system, this is a simplified version of how biogas system looks like. So I took from Gautam, and this biogas system is installed underground, about 3 meters below the ground, and it has a fermentation chamber. And in the case of Nepal, so they feed in cow dung, and through an aerobic process, the gas comes out of this fermentation chamber, and this gas is a biogas which can be used for cooking. And this is also the same purpose that households in Nepal use for. I'm sorry, my daughter is a little bit active today, and please forgive me if her sound is getting inside. And once a household install biogas, so they save this time from collecting, not having to spend time for firewood collection, and also at the same time, it also reduces the time that women have to spend in the kitchen for cooking. So once they save this time, how do they reallocate this time for other household activity is a primary question that we are asking in this in our study. And also at the same time, biogas is promoted as with a good intention, but we are also interested in knowing if it has some unintended effect, particularly on in terms of children's marriage and households contribution towards conservation. Our theory is, for example, in installing a biogas by a rural to a rural household in rural villages could signal that household is either doing better off, or richer households, as a result of which their children from biogas adapters households may be able to perform better in their marriage market, leading to their early marriages. And we are interested in knowing this, if this is happening. And at the same time, biogas is seen as a very climate friendly, because about 80% of the gas, or a little more than 80% of the gas, is methane and carbon dioxide. So instead of carbon dioxide and methane getting released into the atmosphere, so it is getting burned. So from this perspective, it is seen as very climate friendly. And at the same time, once household install biogas, so their dependency on firewood reduces. So we are interested in knowing, so after this, how does this affect the households' attitude towards conservation, basically in terms of their contribution towards in the conservation, in terms of to check this, we check in terms of community forest user groups, information on the community forest user group, sorry. And just to motivate this our studies, so we compared the amount of time that male and female household members spend for paid and unpaid work, and we compared between developed and developing countries. And what we see is overall, the time spent for paid work by the male members is much more larger than the female, both in developed and developing countries. So this trend persists between both the countries. But the gap between the total time spent for unpaid work and paid work between male and female household members is much more larger in developing countries compared to developed countries. And just and one of the reasons for this could be because in developing countries, female household members have to spend time on, for example, this kind of activities, fetching water, for example, in benign rural, and women are spending roughly about 60 minutes or 1 hour per day for simply fetching water. And similarly, in Ghana, female household members are spending roughly about 40 minutes for collecting firewood. And similarly, in our study area, Nepal, collecting firewood, one headload, or in local language, it is called as bari. So it's the amount of firewood that individual can carry on their head from forest to their house. So collecting one bari of firewood approximately requires 4 hours. This is a substantial amount of time. And similarly, in Nepal, 75% of rural households are firewood users. And also it has been reported that firewood extraction as a primary reason for forest degradation in Nepal. So because of this problem in Nepal, so Nepal government has been promoting alternative cooking fuel in through proper institutional support, and that one of that is a biogas. So as of 2016, so this is still the latest figure that government has released. So there are around 300,000 biogas systems installed across the country. So this roughly translates to 3% of total households. And the reasons for having such a low rate of dissemination of biogas is because the cost of installation is quite expensive, and to reduce this barrier, so government also provides subsidy for this installing biogas, but even after subsidy, I think it's relatively expensive. It ranges from $300 to $500, and for rural households, I think this is substantial. This is quite a lot of investment. And also this cost of installing biogas varies from region to region, depending upon mostly how far they are located from road and urban area. So subsidy also varies. And in addition to that, so in 2011, so UNFCCC approved and issued carbon credits, or what is called as certified emission reduction. So Nepal government is earning quite a lot of money from this. And in 2018, government of Nepal has reported that they earned annually around Nepali rupees 1 billion per annum, which is about $15 per plant per annum. So from this point of view, also, we thought it was quite exciting to check if it has any crowding out effect on the conservation front. So for this study, we use National Population and Housing Census conducted in Nepal in 2011. So these data have roughly around 800 plus households, collected information from 800 plus households. And in our data, only about 18,000 have reported have adopted as biogas, which roughly translates to about 2% of total households, and also we use administrative data on community forest user group and other GIS data. And our identification we changed, and we rely on propensity score matching, but I'm not going to get into detail into this technical stuff, but if there's a question I would like to take up at the end. So first, we examine if biogas is really helpful in reducing households' dependency on firewood. So outcome variable we check here is for whether households are using whether a primary cooking fuel is a firewood, dung, and kerosene. And our results show that the adoption of biogas is negatively correlated with the use of firewood. And similarly, there are two similar studies from Nepal on biogas by Mix et al. And also Somanathan et al. So their studies also show that biogas users households consume less firewood by about 800 to 2,000 kilograms per year per household. Both by Mix and Somanathan. And also the collection time for firewood is roughly reduces by about 23 to 47%. I mean, time spent for firewood collection reduces by 23 to 27% compared to non-biogas users. So this evidence suggests that, in fact, biogas is helpful in reducing households' reliance on firewood. So in the sense that they are able to save time from not having to spend their time for collecting firewood. So to examine the question of how are they now reallocating this saved time for other household activities,
3 minutes left.
Thank you. We used an individual level data. This has collected data on number of months that individuals spent on 6 different house activities: home production, agriculture, wage, business, household work, and study. And our results show that female household members from the biogas adapters, they spend about 2 months less in a year for household works. And for this time saved from household work, and at the same time from the not having to collect firewood, so they are reallocating their time for home production and also agriculture. But we do not see similar effect on male, but male, our results show that male tend to spend more time for studies. So next, we look at if biogas have any unintended effect on children's early marriage on the children, and conservation. So to check this, again, we use individual data, and we defined the children as having engaging in early marriage if they have reported that they married at the age below 20 and they are currently less than 25 years old. Because in our data set, we observe both their age at which they married and also their current age. And at the same time, reason for restricting below 25 is because we do not observe exact time at which they install the biogas.
1 minute left.
Thank you. And also, we did similarly for reporting them as having married before the age of 18. So we use 20 because legal marriage age in Nepal is 20, but we do not find significant effect. And similarly, we have collected and community forest user group data to check if there is a crowding out effect on the conservation front. So we collected data on number of households that belong to a CFUG in each VDC, that's Village Development Committee, and number of CFG, that's a Community Forest User Group in each community, VDC, basically VDC, and total area under the forest cover in each VDC. And these outcomes are the difference between 2011 and 2000. And again, we do not see any significant effect on conservation as well. So maybe in the interest of time, I will not repeat this, but we do not find overall, we find that there's a different effect on female and male households in terms of time allocation from the biogas, and we do not find crowding out effect of biogas on early child marriage and conservation. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So we have a few questions that have come in, both through the chat and through the Q&A function. The first question was from Krishna Priya about the source of data for time allocation by men and women across the different countries. Just wanted to know what the information source was on that.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Thank you for this.
Yeah.
So this is, I brought this, I should have put here. So this is from UN Time Allocation Report 2015. So this is the same report. Actually, I should have cited this. Thank you so
Great.
much for reminding me. I'm sorry for that.
Thank you. There are also a couple of related questions, really wanting to know if you were able to, like, what is the sort of, you're talking about biogas use, but do we know anything about how well the installations are functioning? And, you know, there's some concern that a lot of biogas systems frequently have maintenance issues and go into disuse and disrepair. So do you have any way of capturing information about that in your study?
Actually, this is one of the reasons why we are still not pushing so hard on this, because actually we were trying to conduct a survey in Nepal to assess this kind of issues, because in our data, since we are using secondary data, that's census data, we do not observe we do not observe all these variables. So we were actually planning to measure how much biogas each biogas is producing per day, depending upon the temperature, and also depending upon under what kind of under what kind of ground it has been installed. So we wanted to check all this, but because of this current COVID, so public health crisis, so we couldn't do this, and we do not know this issue in our data set, and we don't address.
Okay.
Did I answer the question, by the way?
Yes, I think so.
Oh,
yes.
Thank you.
So then just two other people have asked the same question, which is, can you just speak a little bit more to why you think that there's a relationship between biogas adoption and early marriage? So why are you know, what is the motivation for looking at that question and maybe the hypothesized relationship?
Okay. Thank you. Our theory here is, so if because we must, again, we must know that, I must let you know this because Nepal is a very rural place. And in a very rural villages, if a household installs a biogas, so this might signal that the household is better off or doing well, at least in their rural village. So as a result of which, this might be able to, as a result of which, the children from this biogas household adapters may be able to perform better in the rural marriage market. So as a result of which, this we are afraid that this might lead to early child marriage, which is kind of rampant in the developing countries. So this is our theory behind, and we are interested in checking this, whether our theory is right or wrong, or if we see this kind of, if we see this kind of effect as well or not. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephanie, how are we on time? Can we take another question?
We can take more questions at the end. We'll have more time for the Q&A, but I think we should move on to the next presentation.
Okay, thank you. So we have a few more questions, and we'll put them in the wings for our next presentation from Dipendra. So I think we can turn, I think,
So
Ngawang, we need you to stop sharing your screen, and then we'll transition to Dipendra.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Let me. Yeah. Can you see my presentation?
We can see you and we can hear you, so you're good to go.
Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much for organizing this seminar series, and thank you very much for inviting me in this series and to share my research findings. So I'm Dipendra Bhattarai, and I'm currently doing my PhD at the University of Tasmania. So this work that I'm presenting here is a work that I was engaged while working ICI mode, that is International Center for Integrated Mountain Development. So today I will talk about why we need solar irrigation pump. What are the different barriers for adaptation of this solar irrigation pump, and what are the solution? What are some solution to overcome this barrier, and whether these solutions are effective or not. And then I'll discuss about what are the key takeaways from this presentation. So let me set a background. A recently published journal article in Nature highlights that, despite economic growth in South Asia region, food and nutrition security has not improved a lot in South Asia. So that means to say that we need to produce more feed to feed the more population. And in order to produce more food, we need more water. And we all know that groundwater is a major source of irrigation in South Asia. And groundwater extraction is energy intensive activity. And while extracting groundwater, there is a high carbon dioxide emission and black carbon emission. One study estimates that around 10% of the national total carbon emission is contributed by groundwater pumping alone in India. And we don't know about Bangladesh, we don't know about Nepal and Pakistan. And of course, it is much more higher. And on the other hand, achieving sustainable development goals will require a large scale adoption of this kind of technologies. So we can see that there is a clear nexus between food, energy, and water, as well as carbon dioxide emission and black carbon emission. So beside this nexus, I want to talk a little bit about irrigation and gender, right? The organization that I work for, they used to work for 8 different countries, starting from India to Myanmar, and this is called the Hindu-Kush Himalaya region. And in this region, we can observe the structural inequalities in women in distribution of rights, assets, resources, and power. So in this research, we try to look into the asset, whether we can increase the distribution of assets within the households with a woman in a household or not, right? And this here, if you see here, then this graph shows different activity that is done in farmland. And if you look into irrigation, then in Tarai, because why I am highlighting in Tarai is our project area is Tarai. So if you see in Tarai, then the irrigation work is done by men in Tarai rather than female, right? So this is the problem, right? And we all know that working in renewable energy sector, whether it is biogas, whether it is solar home system, or in some cases, whether it is cookie stove, the major barriers is the high capital cost of these technologies. So what is a solution, right? What is a solution to clean the water, energy, and food nexus? So we found solar irrigation pump really useful because there is no operating cost and there is no any emission while operation. Right? So it is really clean, and it can pump water based on the size of the pump. So in 2017, when this project was started, the cost of solar pump was around $3,800 US dollar, which consists of this panel, and here this is a bore well, and inside there is a submersible pump, and this is fencing all around, and the controller is just behind this, behind the panel. So what we did was we designed an experiment in such a way that help farmers. So in all these three models, we have three different models. One is the upfront model, loan model, and pay-as-you-go model. So pay-as-you-go model is a rental model. In all these three models, 60% subsidy was offered as per the AEPC policy, and AEPC is Alternative Energy Promotion Center that has been promoting renewable energy in Nepal from long time. And this was 70% for women, and there's a condition why we gave 70% subsidy for women. The land where this solar pump is installed should be on an ownership of a woman of that household. So if that condition is met, then that households or that female household or female member will be eligible for this 70% subsidy. If not, then it is 60% of subsidy. So in the upfront model, the subsidy is flat. It is 60% for male farmer and 70% for the female farmer. Now, what we do is we work in this loan model. The subsidy is same, but the remaining 40% for the male and 70% for the female should be the mix of equity and loan. So 10% equity was compulsory for both the male and female, and 20% for female should be paid as a loan installment, and 30% for the male to pay the remaining amount as a loan installment. And 5% was the interest rate, 3%, 3 years, and the time was for 3 years. And one thing that we need to consider and that we found is we need to have flexibility of EMI payment, right? So we have this flexibility. Farmer can pay the EMI every month if they want, right? If not, if it is difficult for them to pay every month, then they can pay it once in a 3 or 4 months, or sometime in a 6 months, whenever the cash is available to them. So in a pay-as-you-go model, the subsidy is same, but the remaining amount, there is no upfront cost. They don't need to pay any upfront cost. And the remaining amount, they need to pay within 36 months at the interest rate of 5%. And they have this special condition. They can stop paying the rent anytime if they wish to, if they wish not to use it. So these are the 3 different models that we designed, 3 different financial models. And we did this experiment in 2 different stages. In first stage, what we did is we take a district, the Saptari district, and we split Saptari district VDCs into three different categories like this. See, the green one are the upfront model allocated VDCs. The blue one are the loan model allocated VDCs, and the yellow one are the rental or the pay-as-you-go allocated VDCs. So households in this green, that means to say upfront model, they cannot demand for the loan model from this VDC or from other VDC. So in second stage, we expanded this program to 3 more districts, but we changed the condition. We didn't allocate it, no BDC was allocated. It was open for all the farmers, but we gave it 3 different options. Whatever option the farmer like, they want to choose from any option in the second stage. So we are still analyzing the data for this, but a good, the early results showed a really good sign. I really like this. And out of 53 farmers who adopted the solar irrigation pump, 41 are women. So that is really interesting and encouraging. Like, so loan model was popular in most of the district, but in Saptari, pay-as-you-go model was more popular. We also found that an increase in asset ownership among the women farmers were observed. So yes, and most of the women farmer, so it was their first time, involved in taking the loan for any kind of asset. So, and what we found that, well, it's not only about adoption, right? We need to think about beyond adoption. So people have adopted the system, but what we found that they need some training on vegetable farming and aquaculture farming. So we conducted these 2 different kind of training, and in the vegetable training, most of the female preferred vegetable farming training, whereas male farmers were more interested into aquaculture training. So the discussion here is quite simple. Right? Targeted financial incentive help the women farmers to adopt the system, right? And increase the asset ownership among the woman farmer. So we can find a lot of literature when in a households, when asset ownership is increased, then the woman bargaining power will also increase. And we're trying to explore in our next phase, what we're trying to do is we're trying to explore how are the farmers are using it in an optimal way or not. So there's at the end, so there is a tweet that I tweeted in 2018 when I was visiting field. I was really happy with this farmers. Ram Chaudhary, what he said was he had 5 daughters, right? And he was quite busy in his own farm, right, for irrigation. His job in farm was to irrigate the land, and that he need to go to market, he need to contact traders for his farming. And after he installed the system, yes, I think I will cover it. After he installed solar irrigation pump, he said that he don't need to visit anymore to his farm, and his 5 daughters were biggest asset for him in moving ahead with the commercial agriculture. And that was kind of really happy moment for me. Yes, and thank you very much. I'm done.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, we have a few questions that are already showing up here. So one is coming from Mark Julin. He wants you just to clarify. He says, how many farmers were targeted in this phase, and what was the adoption rate, not the numbers overall? Seems like there were relatively few adopters.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we reached to a lot of farmers. So this is a small section of a very big project, a very 5-year big project. In our initial stage, there was a communication program. So how can we communicate about this technology, and an awareness program. So in that program, we reached out to around 5,000 farmers, and out of 5,000, we got 53. Yes, and because the number is quite low, it is because of the cost of the system, right? So majority of the cost within our project was allocated to the system. So we cannot increase the number of solar irrigation pump. So that is the one reason why the number is low.
Okay, thank you. So we have another question coming from Aaron Sills. Can you explain how the program was able to isolate the promotion for women only? Were these female-headed households, or the males were explicitly or implicitly told to stay away?
Okay, so it is not about the stay away. What I say is, when we say about female-headed farmers, or so one condition was there, right? So the land that they allocate, or the land that they install where they want to install the solar irrigation pump, that land should be owned by a female. So that was a condition. So that is why we say, if someone is interested, but the land is not owned by female, then they are not eligible to get these female quota subsidy. So it was quite, it is difficult to explicitly say, okay, this is a households this is a female-headed household and this is a male. So basic reason behind this is we want to increase the asset ownership of a female within a household. I think.
Thank you very much. Okay, so Rebecca has asked, apart from the solar pump intervention, are there existing policies or interventions that might be affecting asset ownership or access to finance?
I'm not sure, right? Access to finance. So there's one project, but yeah, there's a policy. There's a lot of things happening in Nepal in terms of access to finance, to the renewable energy technology, right? Because the involvement of the bank make the whole system quite complicated, right? So I cannot exactly tell what are the different kind of things that's happening now in the field, but we can have a different discussion in what are the different kind of things that's happening in field regarding the access to finance. Yeah.
So I guess maybe a somewhat related question. It's from Bishal, and it came in a little while ago, so I'm not sure exactly what it's. So it's related to what asset ownership was the study looking into, and then there's a question here: how much is 10%? I don't know, Bishal, if you want to clarify what your question is exactly. You'll have to unmute.
10% is around $380 US.
Okay, does that answer the question? I think so. Yes, good. Okay, we've got confirmation. Okay. Could you please say something about the local land policies, and what do the local policies have to say about land that might be jointly owned by a couple, a married couple?
Yes, there is this provision of land, right? So this is the reason we are not claiming here that because of the subsidy, female are or the family member are transferring their land to the female. The reason here is there is a tax subsidy when you purchase a land, or when you purchase a land on the name of any female member, then you'll get some land tax benefit. So that could be one reason why why the larger number of females are owning the land. Yeah, I think, did I answer that question?
Yes, I think it's fine. Okay, so we have a couple, Mark Juland is asking, descriptively, it seems like women are more involved in various farming activities. This was shown on one of your first slides in the hill region relative to the Tarai. Can you comment on those differences?
Yes. Yeah, this this was quite surprising for us. The one reason is, the use of irrigation could be, the one reason could be the use of irrigation is relatively high in Tarai, and then and in terms of irrigation, there is a muscle work required for that, because a household member need to carry a pump to their farmland, and farmland is sometime away from their own house. They need to carry it, put it there on the farmland, and then operate it, wait till the water is pumped, because someone can install that pump and then bring it back. So it's so time consuming, and and bit hectic, and it's some muscle to do that. So that could be one reason why men are quite active in irrigation in Tarai. That is my observation.
Thank you. So maybe just one last question, and then we'll wrap up. I'll just go back through and have a quick look at the questions from the previous presentation. So Dipendra, still to you, are the pumps in the drier parts of Nepal, and does this cause concerns about drawing down groundwater? There's a reference to a study by Gupta funded by the Sandy project that was recently published in Energy Policy. So can you comment on that?
Yes, this is a very common question we get so frequently when we talk about solar irrigation pump. Right. So as I was setting my background, the one reason in Nepal the groundwater is in the Tarai region, especially in Nepal, the groundwater is not exploited much, right? So people are more dependent towards the rainwater, and yeah, and that is the reason why we are promoting this. So this is a kind of a very big question and a very big trap, right? So if we don't extract water, then we'll not be able to produce more food, and if we don't produce more food, we will not be able to feed more people. Right. So it's a kind of looping question, and I don't think I'll be able to answer this very big question here.
Okay, thank you very much. So I've just been looking back. We've had questions coming in both the chat and the Q&A. I think we've addressed most things. There was some interest in, I think, pressing further on the biogas presentation, just to be thinking about how to articulate this relationship between, or this hypothesized relationship between early marriage and biogas, having biogas in the household. So we'll make sure that all of these comments and thoughts get out to the presenters. What I want to do, just as we're wrapping up, is to remind everyone that we'll have our next WinEED SETI joint seminar on the 23rd of November. Stephanie, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So you'll be hearing from us probably within the next week or two about the time and the speakers that are lined up for that seminar. I want to thank you all for joining us. Those who have tuned in from North America, it's quite early in the morning, and for those of you on the other side of the world, it's evening hours, I think. I want to thank you for joining us. I want to thank SETI for their very lovely collaboration with WinEED on this event. And we will we'll look forward to seeing you towards the middle or end of November. And I hope that everyone is staying safe and healthy and, you know, managing okay as we muddle through this global pandemic situation that we're in.
Yeah, thank you very much for this opportunity as well. Yeah,
great. Thanks so much, both of you.
Well, thank you very much, Professor Parminder.
Okay, great. Have a great day or evening, everyone.